Today, we get to look at the prettiest game I have ever played. This is Smithy's opening fundamentals, Game 10 of the annotated game. And now we're going to be looking at some of my games. Three of, the games that I thought best illustrated the opening principles and some of the common tactics. So I was much younger when I played this. We started off with e4, e5, and I played f4, the king's gambit, offering the pawn. And my opponent declines it. And so, there's a saying, fortune favors the bold. I can't tell you how often that I've tried to play a gambit or some other aggressive looking move, and then my opponents, they tend to, refuse, they accept, they do something non-critical. Here already, I think, life is very, very good because look, sure, he's defending his pawn, but that's a defensive move. It's not an attacking move. And now his bishop, it can't come out to a really good square. Again, backing up, when you play f4, like this bishop wants to come on this diagonal because that's going like it's been weakened, right? By moving the f pawn. But by playing d6, you're immediately stopping that. So life is really easy. I'm able to develop, knight f3, develop, and then black takes it. So again, this is something that I've seen time and time again when I've been playing these gambits, when I play things like the King's Gambit, is black doesn't take the pawn, and then he takes it later, and as a result, the only thing he's done is locked his bishop behind his pawn. We'll see just two moves later, I play d4, bishop g4, I recapture. Look at this. I have both pawns, I've got easy development for all my pieces. When I castle, I've got the f-file. What more can you possibly want? And one of the reasons that I really want to include games like this, games that I've played, is because you're probably going to get something similar. You're going to play against other players, roughly around this skill level, and they're going to be making these sorts of moves. So in this position, my opponent plays bishop b7. Okay, I'm going to castle, just following all the rules. h6. What do you think about this? Hopefully your first thought is this looks like an unnecessary pawn move when black should be developing. Surely knight f6 should be played, or even trying to prepare d5 coming in. But okay, so I'm just going to finish developing knight c3, then black plays g5. I remember being absolutely flabbergasted at this. What? Black is trying to attack. He's seen that I've castled kingside, and so he's going to play h6, g5, and he's going to try and just throw the pawns at me. And this can be an interesting strategy in some cases. It does not work when the center is open and fluid. We'll see that. I move my bishop back, obviously, and then he moves the bishop. So now he's just violating all the principles. His king's in the center. He's moving pieces multiple times. He's doing pawn moves instead of pieces. I'm castled, he's not. And so immediately I went into, again, that tactic finder mode. There has to be something. I'm not going to get too deep into the computer evaluation. When I checked this game, this was played again 2002, I believe. The computer at the time said I played very well. When I checked this, when I published the course about 5 years ago, the computer said most of it was fine. And now I just checked it right before this video, and there are some moves where it's like, there's like, yeah, try this, try that. The exact moves, individual moves, it might be first choice, it might be third choice of the engine, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is the general idea, because the idea is sound. So what is the idea here? His king is in the center. We have the center. We're fully developed. We want to be able to use that. And by thinking along those lines, here we go. E5. I want to exchange pawns, open the E file while the king is still there. It's also stopping his knight from jumping in. And also, there's a very common strategic idea to meet a flank attack, which is what black is trying to do, with action in the center. E5. But the idea isn't simply take, letting him exchange queens. I mean, that's not the end of the world, because I'd recapture, I'd be fully developed. But again, the king is his weakness. No, after he took, I played d5. This was the whole idea. I'm chasing this knight away, and now instead of having a pawn here, I'm going to have a piece. He plays probably the most natural move. Here we go. Look at this. All right, bishop's attacking the rook, also attacking the knight. He has to exchange. And then I offer the rook. I'm not going to just take the pawn. No, I have the rook because I want to use the f-file. And what does black do? Black simply accepts. Take, take. And I want you to look at this. What has happened? I have advanced in the center. I offered black an exchange, which he happily took. Black is happy to be up material. But now I think we see the problem. Is the king is still in the center. I am fully developed and I've got files for my rook to slide over absolutely anywhere. He's got nothing. What do you do? How on earth can black go? It's already starting to look like a Morphe game. At least this is what I was thinking at the time. He plays bishop c5. Okay, whatever. That's just a check. That does nothing. What is your next move? He plays f6. Now, there's a bunch of things that we can do here. Again, perhaps your eyes lit up with this check coming on in. And you know what? That's a very good move. Bishop goes over to b5. Also check. Also very good. But I was playing in such that romantic way. I've got one piece that's not going anywhere. Let's bring it in. And now black's in a real crossroad because if he doesn't take, my threat is to move this bishop with discovered check. Right? So if it were my move, I'm going to play bishop takes c7, hitting the queen. It's check to the king, and that's immediately game over. Because see, it actually hurt black to move the bishop away from e7 because now the e file is going to be decisive. Further, I'm playing something like knight goes to e7. That's the only square available. Well, that's just going to drop this pawn. So he just takes it, in for a penny, in for a pound. So at this point, I'm down a whole rook. Does that matter? Of course not. He's got his two rooks are sitting in the corner. His knight is doing nothing. He can barely move. All my pieces are doing something. His king's about to get checkmated. There's a whole bunch of ways that we can do it. Let's say he goes e7. What's the easiest way to do it? I found bishop b5 check. Again, king is completely cut off. There's no squares available for him. He throws in c6. That's fine. I'm going to take it. The next move, I'm going to move that pawn. It's check to the king. He actually plays knight goes to f6. This is blocking the queen's file. But the thing is that I could just take it because of the pin. Oh no, you can't go back. He tries a6. There's nothing left. I just play c7, hitting the queen, doing this. And it's going to be checkmate next. Wow. So what happened there? My pieces ran over my opponent. And if we were to look at, again, sort of like the final tally, it started almost from the very beginning. My opponent, I don't want to say he chickens out, but essentially he chickens out. He just plays this little d6 move. It stops his bishop from coming in. It makes it a bit harder for him to finish his development. I then reached a super good position. And my opponent, he then made the very ill-timed choice to advance his pawns and move his piece, trying to attack before he had finished development. And so then, what did I do? I'm thinking, I gotta use my time, use my development. Specifically, his king's in the center, so let's open the center. Let's use the center. And this was probably the hardest part for me to find. Because, again, it's really tempting to just recapture on e5, to do something like this, or to recapture this way. But it was being able to push with d5. Because what did this do? Once I retook, yes, I'm hitting the rook and the knight, force an exchange. But notice how the e file is completely open. Again, the other thing is if I recapture the pawn, the e file is blocked, right? By recapturing with the piece, that e file is wide open, and that spelled black's demise. And then also, I'm just not scared to give up the exchange. You want to take that? Take it. And I honestly think black shouldn't take it. I think it'd be much more challenging to do something like knight f6. Maybe at least you can castle this way. Uh, my rook is still pinned, so my rook can't go anywhere because I would lose the queen, and I had to spend time doing something like this or this, only to recapture afterwards, right? So I think this was a better move from black. But black, just make sure there's no arrows. Um, he just takes because he's so focused on material, and then he just gets completely run over. Just a few. Look at this. Oh, it feels so good to play chess this way. And again, this game is over 20 years old now at this point, but I still remember it. And I still remember the thrill of just being able to let my development, that pure time advantage, run over my opponent. Again, I'm down a rook. It absolutely doesn't matter because I'm playing with an army. He's playing with nothing. And it's game over just a few moves later. This is the power, and this really 100% convinced me that this is the right way to play chess. And it's certainly the most fun way to play chess, focusing on time. So I'm happy I was able to share this one. I'm not going to get too critical into uh, the type of chess that you're likely to see if you're following my channel anyway. I got two more games that I played, which are going to be roughly similar to this. I mean, not this is like probably like my prettiest game, my most romantic game. So the other ones are not quite like this, but it's going to again feature that club level player type mistakes. So hopefully you find that useful. We got two more coming up. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.